things won't always go according to plan. You don't necessarily have to have a full house every hand to stay in the game. It's about staying in the game sometimes. Interesting about that creative side is that it's like the queen on the chessboard. It does everything. You create all around you. That's the God within. We have to get in that to a whole different topic. But while we're here, if there's anything that brings you as close to God that I can think of, it's your ability to create. That is the ultimate gift. How do you invest your time to create? From a professional standpoint, you have to create a career for yourself. You can't just settle for what's already been laid out necessarily. While at the same time, you have to understand, I think, a very key question. Do you know who you are? Or are you too busy trying to be who you want to be? That's different. Sometimes who you want to be and who you are, sometimes those things align. Kobe, MJ, LeBron. You don't think it's other out there that don't want to be Kobe, MJ, or LeBron and still hooping, tearing their ACLs at age 35 to this day? Come on, man. So knowing who you are versus who you want to be, and that's where that idea of friction versus flow is so important in your professional world, because you don't have a lot of time to waste dealing with friction. But it's tough when you don't necessarily know who you are. Furthermore, it's tough to know who you are when you haven't really had much exposure. What is exposure? When I grew up, I know I could say confidently, when I was in college, I wasn't thinking about grad school. I wasn't thinking about internships. I didn't do anything to say pursue a professional career, if you will. Really had no clue. And as I said before on a prior episode, when you're at that early age of up to like 23, 24, early 20s, of a major portion of your existence is due to things well beyond your control. It's due to your parents, your family, your schools, the things that you don't get to choose. You just have to deal with them. And when you have circumstances which prepare you for stages of life via exposure, you tend to matriculate just a little smoother. So the idea of friction versus flow from a professional standpoint is unique, because very often when it's time to enter the professional environment, you don't necessarily enter on who you are and your merit. You don't. You enter based off of an accumulation of what your environment has been able to help you get to. Now, I don't think that's the case for 100%, but pretty close, because even the outliers, it wasn't their decision to be that outlier, and they miraculously turn water into wine. You don't get to choose the cards you're dealt is the ultimate takeaway. So how do you play your hand? That's what being, say, a child or a young person is about. Understanding how to play the game, because you don't get to always choose. Things won't always go according to plan. You don't necessarily have to have a full house every hand to stay in the game. It's about staying in the game sometimes. Professionally, if you don't know who you are and you spent all of this time chasing after something that you think you want to be, that can be a very hurtful reckoning. I know this from speaking to numerous people personally. I know this. That sort of reckoning that you've put all this time and energy into something that has drove you into depression, anxiety, medications, all in the name of having a career, is so unfortunate. And so I think it's important to really try to pursue the idea of challenging, like, who are you versus who do you want to be? Are you too fixated on the idea of who you are, or are you tapped in with what you really are? That's something different. You can set yourself up for more success when you understand who you are and how you thrive. You won't be looking for the friction. You'll be looking for the flow. But it's tough to even have that approach if you don't know. So, do you know who you are?